Hey everybody, welcome to the Majors Live, episode 329 here on TMS Next Radio, themajors.net. I am Adam Hernandez. With me tonight is Dorf. Dorf, how you doing tonight, man?
Not bad. How about yourself?
I'm not bad myself. Not bad myself. Tonight, though, we've got a couple of topics in store tonight. We've got, first off, we're going to be discussing a little bit later on a National Anthem topic, just because I think that this is one we've been kind of mulling over and thinking about talking about. And I mean, we've got the Women's World Cup going on right now, and Megan Rapinoe, I think it's Rapinoe. She is kneeling during the National Anthem right now. So figured now was as good of a time as any to go ahead and talk about that and the notion of foregoing it, doing away with it. And Dorf, you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah, your camera cut out.
Well, I think it's frozen. I was trying to.
Is it frozen?
Yeah, I think it's frozen on the back end.
Okay. Do you just want to try to?
Yeah, call me back real quick.
Okay. Oh, and I get Dorf's face. There we go. Yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and call Dorf back.
All right.
Are we back? We're back.
I can see you.
I can see you too.
All right.
Let me go ahead and share the screen here. Good thing nobody can see this back end stuff, but we're giving the play-by-play on it right now. So, anyways, though.
Hey, it was working just fine before we went live. So,
yeah.
That's what you get for a duct tape production. So here we are.
Anyways, we're gonna be talking about that tonight. We've got the MLB Umpires just embarrassing themselves on Twitter over that whole Manny Machado thing. We're going to do a little fact and fiction concerning a bunch of different topics in the NBA. Obviously, that big trade that happened over the weekend that sent Anthony Davis to the Lakers for a bunch of different players and a bunch of different draft picks as well. And then we'll get in some bitches and badasses to finish out the show. But, Dorf, why don't you go ahead and take it away with our first topic and those MLB umpires getting their feelings hurt.
Okay, so for those who didn't notice, Manny Machado was ejected from a game for making contact with an umpire, and then was subsequently suspended for Monday's game. I believe the issue in question occurring over the weekend. And the MLB Umpires Union, in their very, stereotypical fashion, it's not like went on Twitter and threw the most boomer, hello fellow kids rant that you could possibly ever see. So we're gonna read, Adam. I don't know if you're prepared for this, so you can share the tweet on screen or not. But regardless, I'm gonna read it. So. This came out the morning of June 18th, the afternoon of June 18th, about 1:18 p.m. from the Major League Baseball Umpires Association at MLB UA. Hashtag disappointed. Hashtag lead by example. Hashtag not appreciated. Hashtag violence. Hashtag temper tantrum. Hashtag inaction. Hashtag not tolerated. Hashtag make an example of. Hashtag 1 game suspension. Hashtag repeat offender. Hashtag nonsense. Hashtag MLB UA, at MLB, at Padres, at Buster ESPN. The last one being at Buster only. Wow. Let's put it that way. And then they also put it that way with one of the images of a wall of text. Unlike every other millennial who's trying to make an announcement of this, it's just a screenshot of their phone on like iNotes or the Android equivalent. But no, this looks like a text document that they did in Microsoft Paint and then saved as a JPEG. Manny Machado received a 1 game suspension for contact with an umpire over balls and strikes, and all caps, violently throwing his bat against the backstop with absolutely no regard for anyone's safety. Violence in the workplace is not tolerated. And grammar error. Repeat offenders are dealt with severely and even made examples of for the good of its employees as well as the company itself. This is truly what the MLB wants to teach our youth? ? So not to mention there's several grammar errors throughout. It's just wow. I responded back to it with somebody teach these boomers how to Twitter, because not in a very long time has anybody in their right mind just done a wall of hashtags. This isn't Instagram, bro. This is Twitter. If you're upset, issue a statement. Your tweet should read something like, see our statement here, and link off to something else like your own website, or put a screen cap of something in there just like you did. First off, it's not just the reaction to what they did. Manny Machado has been ejected multiple times in his career for contact with an umpire. This isn't quite, I don't know if you remember this is a couple years ago, the Rochester minor league team, I forget what they're the Twins AAA team, did a scrimmage or a game in the early season against the Cuban national team, and there was a disagreement with a call and an interference call in the middle of the game, and the whole Cuban team chased the umpires around the field. This ain't that. This is Manny Machado. Yes, he made slight contact with the umpire, the plate umpire, and did throw his bat, which is, you know what, you could argue it's suspendable. Most of the time when guys throw equipment like that, assuming it doesn't hit anybody or it wasn't at anybody, like it was in this case, it wasn't at anybody, a potential suspension or a fine is invoked. This, quite frankly, the punishment fit the crime for Manny Machado. Quite frankly, he probably could, had he not done it a time or two before, probably could have gotten just away with a small fine, $5,000 or what. I don't know what the MLB Players Association and the collective bargaining agreement allows them to fine guys. Didn't bother to look because it really doesn't matter. The fact that the umpires union tries to go play woe is me when public opinion is already not on your side because nobody likes you, and you do it so poorly, yet protect dopes within your ranks like Angel Hernandez and Joe West and Fielding Culbreth and CB Buckner, just to name a few. Or hell, Ron Kulpa. You know, we don't even need to rehash the Ron Kulpa incident with the Astros earlier in the year. For those who are interested, go look that up. It's pretty bad. Or Angel Hernandez over the last several weeks, missing a thigh-high strike down the middle of the plate and getting all upset at Masahiro Tanaka when he asked where he missed.
Or Angel Hernandez in general. I mean, it seems like...
Oh, yeah. It's even bigger of a joke. Angel Hernandez filed a lawsuit against the MLB for workplace discrimination for not getting him World Series assignments. Yes, Angel Hernandez. For those who pay attention, he is the worst by far. And the only reason he has a job still and one of the guys who's stuck at AAA doesn't is because the damn union protects seniority over anything else. I just, you know what, guys, there's, hashtag ump show. Nobody there is there to watch you. You should be, I hate to say it, seen but not heard. Minus, I'd like to hear whether guys are, ball or strike, safe or out. But otherwise, don't be a part of the game. I shouldn't know your name. I shouldn't have to look at the box score the next day to see, who's the third base umpire who kicked that freaking call, because it's recorded as part of the box score. I don't want to have to know. I don't want to have to look. I mean, hell, look at CC Sabathia's comments last year about Angel Hernandez specifically. He said it's not an uncommon feeling when guys figure out who's working the series at the first game of a series, and they say Angel Hernandez's name on it. They freaking groan because they know at least one of these games is going to be fucked up. Or like last year in the playoffs when Angel Hernandez, as the first base umpire, had four calls overturned in one game. 4.
Or somebody's going to get tossed.
Nobody's here to see you. Your ego should not allow you to affect the game in ways that, I'm going to eject the Padres' arguably best player, highest, like the second highest paid, third highest paid player in baseball, because my Fifi's got hurt.
Dorf,
I know it's no secret here that I officiate baseball game nowhere near baseball and nowhere near at this level, and I'm fully willing to admit that. But for the love of God, like, this is bad, and the MLB Umpires Association, you had no friends already, and you only made it worse on yourself here. You should have just, if you really wanted to be upset with the league, file a formal complaint or call up Joe Torre or I believe he's in charge of
he's
players.
the one. Yeah, he's in charge of player
or
discipline.
Rob Manfred and throw a shit fit there. Because doing this, especially in such a poorly executed regard, is only going to make people go the other way. I mean, you were trying to get the public on your side to do some sort of, would somebody think of the children routine?
Yeah, that's so fucking
and everybody
lame.
just met it with laughter, and it's embarrassing.
Dorf,
I feel embarrassed for them.
There's a couple of things about this too. Yeah, I mean it is incredibly lame the route that MLB umpires decided to take with this, capitalizing the word violently, and then trying to equate Manny Machado throwing a bat against the backstop and then quote unquote placing his hand on an umpire or making contact with an umpire. It's debatable whether or not he made contact with an umpire here. His hand brushed the umpire's hand on accident? I mean,
it's not like he ran across the diamond and swung at him like George Brett almost did when the pine tar on the too high in the bat. Whatever that game was. He was who was that?
I don't know.
I know Tim McClellan. He almost came out. He came out of the dugout wanting blood from Tim McClellan, who's retired at this point. But yeah,
but it's. I mean,
that wasn't it.
Yeah, I mean, trying to like I said, trying to equate this to workplace violence is. I don't even say it's laughable because I don't even think that's funny to equate something like this to workplace violence, considering, what we've seen in this country the past, how many years, decades it goes back of people going to their place of business and shooting it up. Come on, this isn't workplace violence. And then think of the children routine. That is so old and tired.
Somebody please clutch your pearls a little bit harder.
Yes.
There.
I mean, come on, people. I mean, if anybody out there is still trying to equate professional athletes to any type of role model or shit like that, then you need to take a step back and
they're just like you and me. It's just their jobs on TV.
Exactly. I mean, this is it. I mean, what we had the other day with Manny Machado is nothing unheard of. It's commonplace in Major League Baseball, in baseball in general. I mean, you see this stuff in AAA, you see it in AA, you see it in Single A. You see guys get mad at umpires and start arguing with them. You see guys arguing balls and strikes and getting tossed for it. This here is another example of Major League Baseball umpires trying to make it all about them. And not only that, I mean, we've got... I like what you said earlier, Dorf, where you don't want to know their name, you don't want to become familiar with them in any which regard. And that should definitely be the case. Look, if a player went on Twitter and started saying stuff about the league or the other team or whatever, that's something that I can get on board with. You know why? Because it's drama, it's entertainment. Stuff like that is I think personally, I think it's good for the game because that brings in a whole. Go ahead.
That's the perfect segue to actually one of Manny's former teammates, Alex Wood. He's now with the Reds. He was traded in the offseason from the Dodgers to the Reds. It was teammates with Manny when Manny spent the second half of last season in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. retweeted, quote tweeted that the tweet from the MLB UA and said, "I don't understand how this tweet is permitted by the Umpires Union or at MLB. The reason the players don't take this on social media on a daily basis to bash the umpires or call them out is because it's simply not allowed. And if a guy does it, he gets fined."
Yeah.
Because you know what? If they were allowed to say, "Oh boy, Angel Hernandez fucking sucked today," or what's new, you bet your ass he would be suspended probably for 5 games. He would be fined those game checks, probably an additional fine on top of that.
Yep.
And guess what? Alex Wood's a pitcher. Guess who's never going to get a favorable strike zone for the rest of his career? Alex Wood. And that's bullshit.
And guess who's
and I am very anti-robo-ump because you know what? The intricacies of the strike zone and pitch framing and stuff like that is such a huge part of the game. I don't want that taken away. But for if this is the way it's going to be, you know what? I'm done defending these guys. I'm done trying to be an advocate for them and trying to explain to people when, oh, how the hell did you miss that call? It was so obvious on TV. It's, well, you're looking at a 2D picture of a 3D event. Like, I understand how some of this stuff gets missed. And it's not as, he doesn't have the same camera angle that, because he's not in the same position that the angle of the camera is.
Mm-hmm.
And he doesn't get the benefit of slowing it down in real time. And I'm almost done doing that because, crap like this. And it's just, I'm done. Like, if this is how the union is going to be, and it's very obvious that the umpires are, this is a reflection of, honestly, most of the or at least the veteran umpires' opinions. I'm done trying to be their advocate to other fans because, I get where they're coming from, but you're not helping yourself, so why am I going to help you?
Do you think, Dorf, that this is the opinion of Major League umpires?
I would say specifically the older generation, the guys that have been around 15, 20 years.
Uh-huh.
I wouldn't doubt it. It's very evident in just the on-field actions of like a Joe West or Ron Culpa this year. God, that incident drives me nuts. The whole I'm going to recap that here briefly. Astros not happy about a call. Home plate umpire in the game, Ron Culpa, just keeps staring into the Astros dugout, throws out the bench coach, and one pitch later just turns around in between pitches, live ball, stares in the third base dugout at the Astros. AJ Hinch just said, you don't need to be looking in here. The game's going on out there. What are you doing? And he runs AJ Hinch for that too. And in the argument ensuing, says, you can't be doing that. You have a game to watch. I can do whatever the hell I want, was his response.
Yeah, yep.
Or something to that effect. I may not be quoting that directly. But I
think you could read his lips with that one.
Well, yeah. No, if the camera shot was perfect, that if I had it in front of me, I could definitely say that's what he had. I don't have the exact quote in front of me. That's all I'm saying. But man, it's just, and it's not all of them, and I know that, and it bugs the shit out of me. But oh, good Lord. And guys, this isn't about you. People don't pay their hard-earned dollars or take their nights on their couch, and watch baseball on TV over, the 250 other channels that they have to watch you work. I may be one of the rare, maybe 1,000 people on the planet that goes to games and enjoys watching the umpires work because I'm sick in the head.
Yeah, you are.
Nobody else does that. I fully admit I've gone to minor league baseball to learn more about two-man mechanics.
I don't think Ron Culpa was even disciplined for
I don't think he was either.
For that. And
he might have gotten a stern talking to.
And that's even more embarrassing. I mean, than anything else. That is extremely embarrassing, not only for the umpires, but for Major League Baseball in general to go on and not address that situation accordingly. Because when you have an umpire out there thinking that he can do anything he wants in that instance, then that is messing with the game itself. You know what I'm saying, Dorf? I mean, that's that's messing with the very nature.
It's providing undue influence on the game.
Yeah.
Your job is to be just to make the calls, don't influence the outcome, other than getting them right.
Yeah, I mean, and if I was,
now if I've ejected, if it was just, for another prime example of this is a couple of years ago, it was Ian Kinsler was still a Tiger. Ian Kinsler and Angel Hernandez again had a discussion about balls and strikes earlier in the game.
Mm-hmm.
Ball was very obviously low, called a strike on pitch tracks. I think Kinsler ended up flying out in the at-bat, didn't reach base. His next at-bat takes a pitch for a ball, and just kind of turns around and doesn't say anything, and Hernandez runs him for it. Doesn't even turn his body, just the head. Takes a little peek back. Runs him for it. I think the Tigers ended up getting destroyed in the game, and it was a season they didn't have any shot at the playoffs, and neither did the Texas Rangers at the time. But Angel Hernandez's ego put his thumb on the scales in favor of the Rangers that game. Because the Tigers' probably second best player that season was ejected with several innings to go in the game because Angel Hernandez got his feelings hurt. And I'm not saying that it should be totally okay for Manny Machado to go running around and hitting the umpire with his bat when he's upset with him. Or and I'm not even for like the entirety, being able to go into a post-game press conference and say, God, CB Buckner sucked today. And you know what? I feel like we got screwed more than the other team did. I'm even okay with, limiting your ability to do stuff like that. But for the love of God, like if you're going to, have your ego bruised and then therefore take it out on a team and give yourself undue influence over a game, I'm not okay with that. That shouldn't be, without punishment, because you know what? You've penalized a team because your feelings got hurt. There should be some repercussions for you. And it may be not demotion, but it may be an unpaid suspension. At the same time, there needs to be a concrete and standard process for this, because you know what? If a game like this happens when the Padres are no good, or it's not Manny Machado and it's, say, Franmil Reyes. For those who aren't hardcore baseball fans, I bet you don't know who that is. He's an outfielder for the Padres as well. Say Franmil Reyes does the exact same stuff as Manny Machado is ejected from the game. This isn't a story. The next day. It's a 2-sentence throwaway in the beat writer's article of, oh, by the way, Franmil Reyes got ejected. He'll serve a 1-game suspension tomorrow. If, the only reason it's a huge deal is because it involved Manny Machado, and then the MLB UA threw a temper tantrum on Twitter. Because if that doesn't happen, or the Yankees aren't involved, like the Angel Hernandez and Masahiro Tanaka, just absolutely totally blown strike call. If it doesn't blow up big on Twitter, and there's no, mob with pitchforks and torches coming, I don't want it to be subject to the fan mob. I want it to be standard, concrete, and okay, I want a third-party arbitrator saying, you know what, this got out of hand. Maybe that requires all the umpires to be mic'd up throughout the game, not for broadcast, but for, it's like wearing a body cam. If you're a police officer, maybe that just needs to be recorded and stored for later audit. And if it's determined that the umpire, got his fifis hurt and then, took it out on a player, then you know what, he needs to be suspended for that. He needs to be sat down. He needs to be given an unpaid day off. That isn't unrealistic or unprecedented in other industries throughout the United States workplace. There's plenty of people for poor performance who get, either sent home early without pay or told not to come to work and you're not getting paid tomorrow.
And that's
not unprecedented. That can be done. That's not against the law as far as I know. I'm not a labor attorney, but something like that needs to be in place, because this just can't continue.
But that is something that is so foreign, though, in professional sports, especially here in the United States, just because...
Except in hockey.
They
actually pull those guys off games if they blow calls.
but you don't see it a whole. You don't see
three different crews worked the Stanley Cup Finals this year for that.
The problem is, though, it's like I was saying, you don't see this too much. You don't see too much discipline going the other way, and I think that that's something that needs to change. Yes, you're right. It is that does happen in hockey more, but it's something that has to happen all together in all four of the major sports.
Sports, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, too. I mean, this might be.
No, the NFL shifts their best crews to the best games. They do it all the time.
No, and that's fine. That's great. I'm glad that the NFL is putting their best officiating crews on the best games. I'm glad that the NHL is rotating in and out officiating crews based on performance. But I think that they need to go a step further, especially. I don't know if this has been brought up at all, Dorf, or anything like that, but if these leagues are going to start cozying up more to, and I'm not against this at all. I mean, if they're going to start being more friendly to the sports books and whatnot,
Vegas, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that they're really going to have to tighten up here, and that's the officiating crews and in the officiating within their own leagues. And maybe issuing more discipline to these different umpires or referees or whatever due to poor performance. And I'm not talking about just rotating in and out crews or rotating in and out guys. I'm talking about suspending them and making it public that they are suspending them just because. I mean, like I was saying, if betting is going to be a bigger part of the game, and I already know it's a huge part of any professional sport, but where it's pretty much sanctioned by the league, then this is something that they're going to have to take into account. Especially if you're having guys like Ron Kulpa out there who are, trying to say that they're basically a fucking god out there on the MLB diamond, and they can call out and do whatever the fuck they want. That's something that cannot happen. Not at all.
Oh, yeah. I mean, just the hint or the perception of impropriety is something that the league needs to be worried about. And you know what? Umpires, the Ron Kulpa, it's sad that we even know who Ron Kulpa is.
Yeah.
It's understandable who we know who Joe West is because he's Country Joe. He's a joke.
And he's been around forever.
He's been around forever. Ron Kulpa's been around a while, too. And, the reason we know Angel Hernandez is because he's awful.
And I have no relation to him, so.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, but. Well, he's Cuban, and you're Puerto Rican, right? Or mostly Mexican. Anyway.
Mexican.
Whatever.
No, Puerto Rican.
I knew that, and I'm just being a dick. Anyway. God. Made me lose my train of thought here. But the fact that I know who, a casual observer knows who Ron Kulpa is sad. Like, the only reason that anybody should know a sports official's name is, like, if he's Tim Donaghy's it. Yeah. Or he's in the federal pen for fixing games. That's the only reason you should know who these guys are. And, you know some of the retired guys like Jim Joyce because, the 28-out perfect game and other stuff like that. And that's a legitimate mistake.
Ironic thing, though, too, is Jim Joyce is one of the best.
Oh, Jim Joyce, I don't know if there was metrics for rating umpires or, just a player survey, Jim Joyce would go down as one of the best ever.
Yeah.
And if they still put, umpires in the Hall of Fame, because there is a couple, I think he'd be amongst them.
Yeah, I mean, and he owned that too. He owned it.
Oh, yeah, and you could tell the man was legitimately emotionally destroyed about screwing that up.
Yeah. Yep.
But anyway, it's just I don't know. I don't have anything else more to say about this. It's just it needs to stop being a dick measuring contest between the players in the league, especially in baseball with so much being subjective. Not that any other sports doesn't have incredibly subjective officiating. I mean, because that's the nature of sport. If it wasn't, you'd play chess. But especially with how much influence over, safe out balls and strikes. Balls and strikes aren't reviewable. Balls and strikes aren't overturned. these players are walking around on eggshells because they know if they give a little bit back to these guys, they're fucking themselves for the rest of their careers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And they can't, that's not something they can risk. And anyway, that's all I got.
All right. Anyways, though, we're going to transition here to the national anthem debate, and I don't even know if this is it's not a debate or not amongst the mainstream atmosphere within professional sports as we see it today. What it is, though, is it's a notion to bring up just because of the of what we've seen so far, and within professional sports itself. Obviously, there's the Colin Kaepernick thing, and everything that transitioned after that. Like I said at the top of the show, we have Megan Rapinoe kneeling during the national anthem at the Women's World Cup right now, and I bring this up because I, for one, don't believe that we need to have the national anthem at the beginning of sporting events. Simply because the sporting event itself, it's not a political event. It's really not a patriotic event. I mean, you when you look at it, it's an entertainment event. And when you take entertainment events in general, and I think that this was outlined in a USA Today article, which highlighted the national anthem as potential lazy patriotism. And I believe it's them that bring up the notion or bring up the question as to whether or not do we stand for the national anthem before a movie? Do we stand before the national anthem for, before a play or any other type of entertainment event that we may go to? No, we don't. And we shouldn't have to, because it just becomes overexposed, it becomes stale, it kind of loses its meaning. And we've known, the more you tend to do something, the more it may lose its meaning in some regard. Like, take, for instance, if you have a TV show or something that goes on way too long, it tends to lose its its excitement or the meaning behind that TV show, the meaning behind the plot. And I know people are out there, saying, how dare you compare the national anthem to some TV show. Well, not only that, when you look at the national anthem in and of itself, what are typically people doing? What are fans doing during the national anthem? Most of them aren't sitting there with their hand on their heart, looking at the flag and keeping quiet. They're cheering.
I wouldn't say most. I would say some.
Okay, there's a good hold on. There's a good amount there taking pictures, talking with their friends, looking around, just waiting for
their phone call.
Yeah, waiting for the game to start. And again, I mean, if you want to, and I think the NFL had a perfect opportunity here to remedy their problem that they had with the national anthem and players protesting during it. And I will go on and say right now, I have no problem whatsoever the players protesting during the national anthem. I think that that's something that I've made very clear in the past, especially when Dorf and I have talked about the whole Colin Kaepernick thing on other shows like Blitzcast. But we've gone 12 rounds on that. Yeah, they had a perfect opportunity to remedy this and just eliminate the national anthem, because the national anthem hasn't been around forever. It hasn't been part of the professional sports landscape forever. It's been part of it for a long time now. I believe it started in 1918.
It was first done in the 1880s, but it was largely adopted on the regular in the 1918.
Yeah, 1918. And during that time, what was happening then? World War One.
It was literally because of World War
Yeah,
One.
and look, I understand that the national anthem is supposed to, essentially bring people together. Well, right now it's not really necessarily bringing people together. It's kind of tearing people apart. And you get people, passing judgment on other people, at these sporting events because they may not have the proper etiquette or anything like that. But again, what place does the national anthem have at sporting events? Is somebody unpatriotic because they say that they don't want a national anthem performed at a sporting event that isn't necessarily patriotic to begin with, or political to begin with? I don't think that's the case. I really don't.
No. I mean, hell, there's a joke about NASCAR specifically that the final couple words of the national anthem are "Gentlemen, start your engines." Your only argument really for continuing it is tradition. Adam, I disagree with your assessment that the sports leagues had their chance to, nip this issue in the bud by just stop doing that. Mm-hmm. I think that was probably a mathematical calculus that they'd piss off more people by doing that than just leaving it alone and, having it being, an eyesore, not necessarily an eyesore, but a sore spot, those who chose to kneel, or the fact that the teams were no longer going to be on the field for it. I honestly think if going away would have been a net gain, I think they would have done that already.
Mm-hmm.
However, to do it now in response to a Colin Kaepernick, an Eric Reed, a Megan Rapinoe, I don't know. I don't think anybody's done hockey, and there's only been a couple guys who've done it in baseball, and there's a common thread amongst those baseball guys. They ain't around anymore. I think that if that was the case, and they could have just silently done away with it, 2012, guys, this is kind of old. We're not doing it anymore. Oh, well. I think it would have been, all right, well, okay, I get it. I'm not happy about it, but okay. But now, if you were to do anything at all, change the status quo at all, it's going to do more harm than good.
Mm-hmm.
And to call it lazy patriotism, yeah, I get it. There's little to no investment. It's depending on how faithful your rendition is to the tempo of the song, it could be anywhere from like 35 seconds to 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
But it's real easy. It is the symbol that things are going to begin. But then again, it doesn't need to stay that way. It's not like it's required by law. This isn't North Korea where we have to salute the dear leader or something before we're allowed to engage in a soccer game. But I know I think I made my opinions on the whole subject as a whole of, throughout the Kaepernick debates between you and I, that I don't care. And you know what? Unfortunately, this isn't really a political decision by sports leagues or anything like that. It's a business decision. They're worried about pissing off more people by stopping, caving to the, let's call it the SJW mob, than they would by, just leaving it alone. I don't think it's a political statement if they were to do anything. I don't think their inaction or potential action is political. I think it's entirely a business decision.
I've heard your argument before with this, Dorf, and it's.
Right, wrong, or otherwise, a lot of people feel strongly about this.
I do, and look, I hear your argument for you can't, if you get rid of it, there's going to be plenty of people pissed off. I hear you. That's a very fair argument.
There are people in my life who were diehard NFL fans who stopped watching because of Colin Kaepernick.
Okay, and that's I believe you. I think that's certainly the case, and the fact of the matter, how many people have left the NFL, have stopped watching the NFL because of Colin Kaepernick?
Ratings are quite a bit down, and if you look at any of the public research polling, it's a factor. It's not necessarily the only factor or the it's a plurality of people who left because of Colin Kaepernick. It's not the majority of people who stopped watching. But he sure is the protest or the anthem protest in general were the largest individual factor on why people stopped watching.
Would it be better if they just keep the players in the locker room then? Is that a better solution than stopping?
I think it's a half-assed attempt at compromise that makes nobody happy. So you've pissed everybody off instead of just some.
Because I don't think protest is going away.
It's something that's, I'm going to call it spineless bureaucrats would decide to do, rather than just come out and say, we're going to continue to do this because fuck off, and if players want to protest, whatever. If you don't like it, too bad. Or we're going to pull it because why are we even doing this? Because, we've only done it because everybody else is doing it, and we don't see the value in continuing, and if you don't like it, fuck off. Come out with some sort of strong decision, and don't just try and pander or meet halfway in the middle, because then you don't win at all. You don't win with part of your group and not win with the other. You just win with nobody. That's a half-assed or attempted the middle of the road there is a cowardly decision that only pisses everybody off instead of making some people happy and not others. And unfortunately,
the biggest
it's spineless.
But the biggest problem with all of this, Dorf, is people unwilling to listen, unwilling to hear the other side of the argument.
Wrong.
No, I know I'm not wrong.
It's.
Because if people listen to the whole Colin Kaepernick thing and the reason why he does kneel, they would know that the reason why he does kneel instead of sit down is because a former teammate or a former teammate of his and a former Navy SEAL said that that's what they typically do when
he wasn't a former teammate. He was a former long snapper for the Seahawks.
You're right. Yep. But he told him that was a more respectful way to go about this. And Colin Kaepernick adapted that. But nobody wants to hear that side of the story. They just want to see a guy with a fro kneeling down during the national anthem, and all of a sudden equate that to him, hating everybody and wanting American, he loves Fidel Castro and that's it. He wants to destroy America, which is just it's nonsense, and you're never going to win these people over. You're not. So, I think you're right in that sense, Dorf. Even if you do get rid of the national anthem, there's going to be plenty of people out there that are going to piss and moan and clutch their their American flag, boxer shorts and red paper cups and scream about how, the NFL is trying to take down America too. And you're never gonna get through to these people, and maybe the hope is
Adam, a lot of that has to do with is let's call it there's a word I'm forgetting for this, but it's subject matter creep. There's another word for it, but I'm forgetting it. But creep is the second part of the phrase. Most people want to watch their football on Sundays for the escapism, the escape from reality, the temporary, ability to feel part of, be part of something greater than yourself, right or wrong, that feeling and how immature that some people may think that is. I feel like, a lot of people watch sports for that 2 or 3 hours a day where I can feel like I'm part of a team again, and I can relive my glory years, and I don't have to worry about reality, and it'll still be there when I'm done. Politics is stressful for most people, especially those who aren't deeply entrenched in knowing what's going on. The fact that politics has creeped into their escapism, it pisses them off, because that's, so many people across the United States and North America live for the weekend. That I would argue philosophically it's a horrible way to live. However, the fact that, on Monday morning you're dragging your ass into work and I can't wait for Friday at 5. I really can't wait to get out of here. Because you know what? On Sunday, I'll get to watch my favorite team do battle on the gridiron for one of the 16 times I'm going to get to see them this year. And when all of a sudden you introduce that extra stress, it doesn't provide that escapism, that relief, that moment of joy for you anymore. I can't blame people for being mad at that.
Are those
But you know what? It comes down to what the utility of the activity.
are those
People don't.
are those people though going to get upset that just want to get that escape into sports? Are those people going to get upset if there's not a national anthem before a game?
It's an upsetting of the status quo. They like things the way they are. People hate change in general. They like things the way they are. They don't care why they're the way they are. They just like them the way they are. And you've upset that. So you've upset them. And you know what? More power to you. It's a power dynamic thing. If I went to my morning stand-up meeting at my office job, every weekday at 8 a.m., and took a knee and said, "Oh, I'm protesting, I don't know, long working hours, and I'm going to stay on my knee for the first 5 minutes of this meeting and protest that." You bet your ass, like the best case scenario is for me is a stern talking to. Worst case scenario is me getting escorted out.
Yeah, but you can't.
Hang on. Let me finish. These athletes have a bigger stage. They have a greater power dynamic because they are less replaceable in the workplace than you or I. They're trying to take advantage of that fact to push a political message, largely push a political message, or something that at least comes off to some people as political. With that being the case, what most people engage in watching sports for is escapism. And when you encroach and introduce that political stress into the situation, you're ruining what they're trying to get out of that for them. Yeah, it's lazy. It's shallow thinking. I don't agree with it being right. However, that doesn't change the fact that there's a large group of people, specifically in the United States, who are offended by that. And they choose to take their time and their business elsewhere. They will spend that 3 hours on Sunday somewhere else. They'll choose to not watch the Women's World Cup at all. They'll choose to not turn on that basketball game because you know what? They're going to go watch, I don't know, Food Network. Because you know what? They get to watch, their other favorite thing, food, and not get preached at. And get their escapism that way. And that's their choice. And that's everybody's choice. It's just, it's consequences of actions. And that's fine. Just, I just wouldn't be upset. I know this was supposed to be more of a talk, more focused potentially on the current protest of the Women's World Cup. But you can't be upset at people that decide to take their business elsewhere because that's not what they came here for. If it's one of those that if I went to a restaurant and I ordered, the soup and salad, and all of a sudden a blood rare steak gets presented on my table, and that's not what I ordered. Can I get my soup and salad? Well, that's too bad. That's not what that's what you get today. You bet your ass I'm gonna get up and not pay for that blood red steak, and I'm gonna walk out because that's not what I paid for. That's not what I asked for. That's not what I'm here for. That's not what I wanted to get out of this event. It's fine. I understand. The mission is still accomplished by these protests largely because it got you and I to talk about it. It got ESPN to talk about it. It got other people who would be blissfully unaware of the issues you're protesting to talk about it. However, there are consequences for that. That Joe Bob from Missouri may not watch football this weekend or for the rest of the year because he's offended or bothered or doesn't want that additional stress in his life. And that's the cost of doing business. If the sports league, specifically the NFL, don't like that, put a rule in the CBA, get it ratified in the next CBA. You do that, you're ejected. You don't get to play today. You bet your ass that would stop.
I think
if that's what you want to do, get it done. If not, don't bitch about players doing it because they have the ability to, and they feel these things are important and they'd like them discussed, and this is their best way to get that done. Don't blame them for taking that out, but also realize there are consequences for that.
I think what we have here is a bigger underlying problem of closed-mindedness and intolerance obviously, to these different viewpoints. And this isn't. I mean,
it's not even intolerance.
No, it is. It is. It is. It is. It is. It is an intolerance, Dorf. It is an intolerance.
That is such a
Dorf. Let me talk here for a second. Jesus. It is an intolerance, Dorf. If you're going to shut yourself out from what these guys are protesting here, then it is a brand of intolerance that they are displaying. And this is becoming an even bigger problem now than it has been in probably the last 20 to 25 years. Back in the mid 90s, there was an NBA basketball player, Mahmoud Abdul Raif, I believe was his name, and I think he played for the Denver Nuggets
at the time.
What was that?
It's pretty good player at the time.
I believe he played for the Denver Nuggets is when this was happening.
He played in Denver. Yep.
But he's Muslim, and during the national anthem, he decided that he was going to pray, I believe, during the national anthem. And this caught all sorts of controversy and whatnot, and people off, but it didn't catch on nearly as much as what happened with Colin Kaepernick a couple of years ago. Not nearly as much.
Different time and culture. You don't have the outrage machine known as the internet.
Exactly. This is a bigger problem now than what it was in the mid-90s. And people have become more intolerant, more close-minded to hearing other people's concerns or grievances, whether they are, whether they're making $30,000 a year or, $20 million a year.
Hey, Adam, I know this is kind of a derail. I would like to challenge that last assertion that things are worse than they've ever been. I do think I have some data to back that up. I think that is more of a politics of the Empire show. We need to get that on the schedule. Okay. I think it's the outrage click machines are more outraged, and they weren't a thing, like in the Muhammad Abdul Rauf era. But it's I would argue less than 10% of the population by data that is freaked out about this, and the other 90% couldn't give a shit.
Okay, yeah, I mean that's fair. Maybe it is. It probably is a social media thing that where if Twitter and Facebook were around in 1996, then maybe the Abdul Rauf thing would be a different thing. But the fact of the matter is we haven't adjusted ourselves as a society to be able to deal with something like this in a way that makes us better as a society instead of being worse as a society. Because what we're doing is when we simply turn off those games and not want to deal with it. What else are we turning ourselves off to in the world? I mean, what other excuse are we going to have? Because quite frankly, the national anthem thing in football, if you're going to turn off a football game because of players kneeling during the national anthem, then there's a bunch of other things going on in your head that are probably going to be working out in everyday life for you, where you're becoming intolerant or closed-minded to other people's ideas or concerns or grievances, throughout everyday life, because that is such a minuscule fraction of a thing during a sporting event in general. Because once the national anthem is over and those players are standing once again, then that's it. It's over with. The game goes on as scheduled, and that's it.
Quite honestly, I think the original protest with Colin Kaepernick would have not actually been that big of a deal if the Monday after the talking heads, the Embrace debate, the First Take shows, or I don't want to call it the likes of Deadspin, but the social media machine, let's call it the blogosphere who relies on social media for revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't say, ooh, opportunity for political polarization. Let's talk this to death for the next 12 months because my clicks, my views.
Yeah.
I think this should have been cool. Colin Kaepernick may have a point here. we might be able to talk about that in a serious political discussion later on. Thanks, man, for bringing that to our attention. No, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to balkanize people and I'm going to, unfaithfully and poorly characterize my opposition. It'll quickly turn into a team sport. We can monetize the shit out of this for the next 12 months. There is so much of that culturally going on that I don't know if it's a big deal, because I still think there is data out there that shows that 90% of the population of the United States doesn't know and doesn't care what the latest, outrage mob is about. But at the same time, it sure does look like all this shit's a big deal.
Yeah.
And it's tearing us apart, but is it really? And I would like to further discussion at a later time of whether or not that's, trying to figure out whether or not that's the truth.
All right. Dorf, let's move on and get to a little fact or fiction tonight. And we're going to be talking about, we're going to be doing a little fact and fiction concerning the NBA and what happened, what transpired, especially over the past week with the Toronto Raptors winning the NBA title over the Golden State Warriors in 6 games, the LA Lakers acquiring Anthony Davis from the Pelicans, and yeah, that's pretty much it. So, fact or fiction, Dorf? With the acquisition of Anthony Davis, the Lakers are now the team to beat in the Western Conference. Fact or fiction?
I'm going to go fiction here.
Okay.
Let's see. They may be able to take advantage of the fact that the Warriors are going to lose either Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, or both. Neither are likely to play into the late part of next year, if at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I still think that there are several, depending on what happens with Chris Paul in Houston. I still don't think they're better than the Rockets are. Or hell, I mean, I'm never going to count the Spurs out either. Or Portland's still pretty good. Like I'm not there. I'm not willing to, especially because free agency hasn't happened yet. There's so many guys available, the likes of Kyrie Irving, and another big one, Jimmy Butler, and Kawhi Leonard amongst others. It's way too early to say a team is the team to beat in the Western Conference.
So you're saying that you want to see that what that third move is going to be, because it's going to be something.
The draft, isn't the draft going on right now? Like, I mean, there's still plenty that can happen today. Draft's on right now, I believe. Is it tomorrow?
I think it's tomorrow. Yeah.
It is tomorrow. Yep, you're right.
And I think the NHL one
draft
is on Friday.
Tomorrow. Yeah, the NHL one's on Friday. The NBA is tomorrow. And the MLB was last week.
I'm with you though, Dorf. I think I would like to see the third move in all of this, and I would like to see how the Lakers kind of shape out their bench as well. Aside from obviously what they do with their impending big three, because I think they're going to make a run at Kyrie Irving. I think that they're going to make a run at Kemba Walker. I think they're going to see what they can do about getting Kawhi Leonard. I even think they might make some calls on Jimmy Butler as well. I don't think you count the Lakers out on any of those guys. Obviously, though, they're going to be treading in a direction where you have to be careful, because if you do cement yourself too much into obviously 3 players, that
you have no depth.
Yeah,
you have no organizational depth, which is really risky with LeBron being as old as he is.
Exactly, and not only that, you look at the teams that have won the NBA title the past few years, and it's the Warriors and this year's Toronto Raptors. Toronto Raptors were extremely deep. I
mean, they had quality NBA players who played 20 minutes a night during the regular season, not even see the floor in the finals.
Exactly. And the Warriors, I mean, they built their core up through the draft. And I'm talking Klay Thompson. I'm talking Steph Curry. I'm talking Draymond Green. And then they were able to get some of those guys like a Kevin Durant, who was extremely generous in keeping his salary down so they can keep on going on with the core that they had and keep him around.
Make sure that Steph Curry could get paid.
Exactly, and then bring on Boogie Cousins last year. So
God, they stole Boogie.
Yeah, they did.
Not that he did much for him this year, but still.
Yeah, he was hurt a good portion of the year, but still, I mean, that type of mentality went into helping the Golden State Warriors do what they did for that run that they had. So I'm with you, Dorf. I would like to see what that third move is for the Lakers and what they do
ask
after
me
that.
Again after week 1 of free agency, and we'll look at this again.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask you this right now. Fact or fiction, Kawhi Leonard will re-sign with the Toronto Raptors this offseason.
I'm going to go fiction.
Okay.
He can get more money, especially when it comes to – I know he can get a larger Supermax deal if he re-signs with Toronto. However, when you get that ridiculous tax rate in Canada, and if you stay out of the state of New York or California, you can make effectively 40% more money.
Mm-hmm.
I bet you he goes somewhere else.
Okay. Any guesses on where he might go?
I know the rumors. There's a lot of smoke around the fact that he wants to go to L.A. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up with the Clippers.
Yeah.
It's not the Lakers, but Los Angeles, or the Knicks or Brooklyn. Team up with like a Kyrie or Irving in Brooklyn or something like that. I think that could work.
Rumor was too that the Clippers were trying to buy the rights to his logo that he's suing Nike over right now too.
I still love the whole phrase. I know it's not. I know it's his reported thing from college. Boardman gets paid. No, he's about to be an incredibly rich man, even more rich than he is now.
Yeah, I mean his personality seems about as exciting as a tall glass of water. Yeah. So,
yeah, he's a hooper, man.
Yeah,
ball is life, man.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with that.
I'd
love to have him.
Oh yeah, me too. Next up, you know what? I love Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin, you know what? Right now, might be my favorite athlete in Detroit sports. Right here and now.
Doesn't have a lot of competition, man.
I know he doesn't, but how could you? If you're a Detroit sports fan and you
how can you not like Blake Griffin?
Exactly. How can you not like Blake Griffin? This guy
didn't pout when he got traded to LA to Detroit.
No,
not exactly upgrade. Gave it his all. Played incredibly injured in a playoff series. They had no shot of winning. It is what it is.
Yep. All right, next up, fact or fiction, the Golden State Warriors were offering max deals to both Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson this offseason. And Dorf, what they'll do is they'll offer those max deals. If they get them, they will be okay with basically just writing off next year in hopes that they come back and they're back to square one with both those players and the rest of the guys that they had for 2020, 2021.
I say it will be fact that they will offer, fiction that they will be able to sign both. I think Klay Thompson wants to be his own man. I think he's said as much, cryptically on social media. I think Klay Thompson, despite missing the facts next year, will sign some sort of 1 or 2 year deal with a 1 year opt out to go to, I don't know, pick a city. He'll
Lakers?
miss all of No, not the Lakers. Lakers don't have money to do what I'm suggesting. He'll sit out all of next year. Hell, maybe it's Philadelphia. Or, take that money they're spending on Jimmy Butler, flip it over to Klay Thompson. He misses all of next year, opts out, signs a Supermax extension with his next team right after that, and then is, for the next 5 or 6 years in that same spot. I think Kevin Durant accepts a max deal. I think he stays in Golden State. I think he gets that true max deal that'll give him in the upper 30s or low 40 millions of dollars annually for a 5-year deal. And I think he is a Golden State Warrior until it's time for him to ride off into the sunset.
Wow.
I think he likes where he's at. I don't think he wants to move anymore. I think that he's there to stay.
And then him and
Steph Curry go into the retirement home together.
I was going to say him and Draymond Green become best friends.
I think they have it's always like that relationship that you see between Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. You tell they really don't like each other, but they know damn well that they work damn well together, and that's just something, it's just the cost of doing business.
I would love to see a
Would you love to see a Hard Knocks of them? The Golden State Warriors.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Patriots. I'd love to see a Hard Knocks with the Patriots.
Oh, I'd love to see a Hard Knocks with I'd love to see like a Hard Knocks style thing with for the whole year, following like NBA. Hell, just have like the NBA TV do it, where like they follow like 5 teams a year for the entire year, and it's just like Monday night we're gonna do this week in Golden State, and then we're gonna do this week in Chicago Bulls, and yada yada yada, and you do that 5 nights a week, and there you go.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
I think it would be fun as hell and incredibly entertaining.
That's crazy though. I mean, I don't want to say it's crazy, but it's interesting that you think that that Kevin Durant's going to be the one that would stick around, and Klay Thompson's going to be one that goes.
I think Klay Thompson is gone, and look for him to end up in a place like Chicago or one of the New York teams. And I think I'm very much predicting one of those 2-year deals with an opt out, and then signs the Supermax in year 2.
Yeah, because I always thought it was going to be flipped around. I always thought that Klay Thompson would be the one that would stick around, and Kevin Durant would be the one that goes. But hey, we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to see what happens with that one. And finally, fact or fiction, the Pelicans got the better end of the deal in the Anthony Davis trade. Fact or fiction, Dorf?
Fact. Anthony Davis is a nice NBA player. However, he's not a ball handling guard or a ball handling forward where you can really run the entirety of the offense through. And that's, as we've seen, is the key to winning games here in the recent NBA. Teams built around bigs don't go anywhere. See Detroit and Philly and, the end of the era of several other major franchises. Teams built around good wing play is what wins, and Anthony Davis is not a wing, and LeBron James at this point of his career is not a first option wing. And I'm sorry, they may be media darlings, but I think the Lakers do not make the playoffs next year. I'm not gonna bet my house or my car and everything I own on that, but I would put it in pretty good odds the Lakers don't make the playoffs again.
Wow, damn,
they're not good. Their roster sucks. Anthony Davis and LeBron James will score you 60 a night between them. But what else you got?
Yeah, they gave up a lot too. I mean, Lonzo Ball, Josh Hart, Brandon Ingram.
Ingram's a pretty good player.
Yeah, 3 first,
and like 17 first-round picks.
I think Lonzo's going to be a good player too. I mean, if he could stay healthy and keep his dad out of his fucking business, then yeah, I think he's going to be a good NBA player. But
I think it'll be a lot easier now that he's in New Orleans to keep dad out of his business.
I think it will too. Obviously, I think obviously LA, when you're dealing with the Lakers, that can be a tough place to play.
Realistically, nobody cares about New Orleans, and I don't see LeVar picking up and moving to New Orleans.
No, and you're away from I mean, you're out of your hometown too. I mean, how many times have we talked about
how many
that too?
Athletes play pro sports in their their hometowns get ruined before their careers really get off the ground?
Exactly. I mean, how much
they're too distracted.
Exactly. How much worse would it have been for Johnny Manziel if he ended up playing for the Texans or the Cowboys or something like that? But
the Texans. Well, I know he's from closer to Houston.
Is it closer to Houston?
But actually, it might be. No, he's closer to Dallas. Sorry. I know Dallas would be a bigger circus, especially with Jerry Jones, but yeah.
Man.
It didn't work out in Cleveland, of all places. So
imagine how, that's what I'm saying. Imagine how worse it would have been in Dallas. But to finish things out tonight, we're going to go ahead and get into our bitches and badasses. Dorf, are you ready? Do you want to take your badass first?
Sure.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, my badass this week is actually going to be Gary Woodard. One of the players, it was of the PGA Championship or Players Championship this past weekend. Just that inspirational story with that.
This is the U.S. Open.
Was it the U.S. Open? Sorry, the U.S. Open. Yeah, one of those majors. It wasn't the Masters. I knew that. Just the inspirational story about that gal who he's kind of bonded with, first athlete with Down syndrome to receive a Division I athletic scholarship as a golfer, and just seeing him win his first tour event. And kind of their embrace at the end, I thought that was pretty cool. That's what makes him my badass this week.
All right. My badass this week is the St. Louis Blues winning the first Stanley Cup in franchise history. I think when you go back and you look at what this team was able to accomplish this year, the second half of the season was really. I know it sounds cliche to call it remarkable, but if anything is remarkable, it's what the St. Louis Blues were able to do this year.
Weren't they like in the middle of December, like second from the last? They were like 28th in the league.
They were dead last in January. In the beginning of January, they were dead last in the NHL. They fired their head coach I believe it was November 19th. The starting goaltender in the playoffs, Jordan Binnington, didn't start a game for St. Louis until I think it was January 7th. He was a rookie. And
by the way, saw him at the post championship parade there.
Yeah.
Dude's got chicken legs, man. How is this dude an athlete? He looks like a anorexic teenager.
Well, he's got pads on.
I know he's got a ton of pads on, but it's just like, dude, like, eat a sandwich, man.
But yeah, the St. Louis Blues.
He did not fulfill the stereotype of big legs on a hockey player.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Well, he doesn't have to skate a whole lot. I mean, he's just stay in the goal crease and that's it.
He's still got to stand out there.
Yeah, he's still got to stand out there.
I suppose quick twitch is more important than bulk.
But yeah, the St. Louis Blues, good for them, and thank God for taking out the Boston Bruins too.
It's like, I love the thing. A child born in Boston only 3 months ago has never witnessed a sports championship.
Jesus Christ, yeah. I mean, how many times do you have to see the fucking Patriots and the Red Sox and then the Bruins win? Fuck that. Thank you, St. Louis, for taking down the Bruins.
Good thing your basketball team is going down in flames. It makes the rest of us feel a little bit human.
God, yeah. Maybe we talk about that some other time. Just of, the Celtics going down in flames in such, in such quick fashion too. I mean, seriously,
because college coach who never played in the league doesn't know how to manage the egos, and it all fell apart.
Do you think that's what it is? Do you think it's Brad Stevens' fault here?
I 100% think that's what it is.
Huh. All right.
Brad Stevens doesn't have clout with the guys in the room. It all fell apart when things started to get rough. I wouldn't be surprised, Brad Stevens, because Kyrie's going to sign somewhere else, and they'd start off slow next year. Gordon Hayward isn't as good post-leg break. Al Horford just opted out. And it turns into the Jason Tatum playing by himself, and they get off to a real slow start. I wouldn't be surprised. Come Christmas next year, Brad Stevens does not have an NBA job.
Do you think it was a mistake for Boston not to budge on moving Jason Tatum for Anthony Davis?
Long term, no. Guards win in this league, and Tatum's a quality up and coming guard, and I think he's a better part of a championship team than Anthony Davis.
I agree with you. Yeah, especially because Anthony Davis wasn't going to re-sign with the Celtics, and they made it known too.
Wasn't going to re-sign there. I'm sorry, but Anthony Davis has not been consistently healthy as an NBA player or as a college player for that matter. Not interested. Moving on.
All right, Dorf, your bitch. Go ahead.
MLB Umpires Union for all the for like the first half of the show, and you could I made my feelings known why.
I'm gonna go with the National League Baseball, and Max Scherzer the other day put on a perfect display as to why pitchers shouldn't be batting in the National League.
In BP, no less.
Yes, in batting practice. He
fouled a bunt off his face.
Ended up breaking his nose, giving himself a black eye. Saw something on Twitter today saying that Max Scherzer now has 3 color eyes. A blue one, a brown one, and a black one. And I mean, can we just stop it with this nonsense of batters or pitchers hitting in the National League? I mean, it's
but tradition, bruh.
Yeah, but tradition. Is this another boomer thing? Is it a boomer thing that's keeping pitchers batting in the National League, Dorf?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tradition.
But come on. I mean, can we stop this? Can we stop? I mean, we could have.
This is the only sport where you have 2 different subdivisions within the same league that compete for the same championship, but play by 2 different rule books.
Or the same, one sport where
the NHL. East and West both play by the same rules.
Exactly. Yeah.
Major League Baseball East and West play by the same rules. The NFL, American and National Conference play by the same rules.
I mean, this would be like in hockey, if the Western Conference they did the shootout, and then the Eastern Conference
they don't.
They
or
don't
like
do the shootout.
Dimensions were different. Like, come on.
Yeah. Or in
penalties are 30 seconds longer when you play in a stadium in the East.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think I just think it's dumb, and it brings things off balance in the World Series when you get to that point, and it's just such a tired, old concept that has no business being in the game anymore. And that was another perfect example as to why. I mean, Max Scherzer is one of the best pitchers in Major League Baseball. Can you imagine him, being out any extended period of time because he fouled a ball off of his nose in batting practice? I mean, that's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous to have something like that still be
just
a factor.
More proof that pitchers aren't athletes. Hey. I'm just messing with them. No, pitchers are very much athletes. It's just, I'm not the one who coined the phrase. Let's put it that way.
I thought you were going to say they're just not very good athletes.
No, that is not the case. There's a lot of them. They're great athletes, and then there's David Wells.
No. Yeah.
Or Bartolo Colon.
Oh, come on.
Big Bart.
Yeah, you leave Big Sexy out of this.
Yeah.
Anyways, anything else tonight, Dorf?
Get Big Sexy a job back in Major League Baseball again, please.
Yeah, please, Tigers, just sign him. Just sign him. Who cares?
Make baseball fun again.
Yes. Imagine Big Sexy and a Tiger in an Old English D. That'd be great.
Oh, speaking of making baseball fun again, did you see Blooper, the Braves mascot, and Bryce Harper, the little switcher?